Rebecca Joynes, UK paedophile teacher who groomed 2 boys getting pregnant by one. After following what seems to be a complete epidemic of female sexual offenders, especially teachers, which is truly terrifying, we have a woman recently found guilty of 6 child sex offences here in the UK by the name of Rebecca Joynes. And she was in fact a teacher herself, someone who should be trusted to never take advantage of any children. Unfortunately and sadly, it seems, like many others, she did exactly that. 30-year-old Rebecca Joynes is a former secondary school maths teacher from Greater Manchester here in the UK, and not all that far away from myself. This story faces some hard topics, including child grooming and sexual abuse. It also has 2 big parts and many issues and subjects, which I've tried my best to make flow in this episode today. So please bear with me if things get a little muddled, it will all come together. We have 2 victims, which because of their ages will only be named and referred to as Boy A and Boy B. Rebecca Joynes first appeared before Manchester Crown Court in August 2022, accused of 2 accounts of engaging in sexual activity with a child, Boy A, where astoundingly she was granted bail, and whilst out on bail free, but with the condition to not interact with anyone under 18, she completely broke these stipulations and continued a relationship with the second victim, Boy B. She had been suspended from her job in October 2021 after a report to Childline that she had slept with a 15-year-old student from the school that she was employed by, but apparently not actually sacked until July of 2023. She was subsequently found guilty in May of 2024 of all 6 counts, including 4 counts of sexual activity with a child and 2 counts of sexual activity with a child by a person in a position of trust. She is due to be sentenced on July the 4th, 2024. Ooh, that felt like a lot of dates there, but just to get them down. So, let's get into the gory details of how this child predator made her move on 2 young and impressionable boys who trusted her and had their innocence totally and utterly ripped away from them. Warning, some of what I will speak about today could bring up some serious, deep emotional feelings, and if that may be for you, it could be best to skip past this episode and onto one of my many others. Mental health is important, and I would hate for anyone to suffer from watching this, as my intentions are always to bring awareness and hopefully help others, not the opposite. Boy A, Rebecca's first victim, as we know of, who was, I believe, 15 at the time, was one of her students at the school where she worked. A school that hired her with the thoughts that she was a highly educated woman who would abide by the rules and never abuse her position of trust. Rebecca Joynes may have been a well-educated woman, but she certainly abused that trust. Now, there literally was no doubt in Miss Joynes' guilt in the case of Boy A, as disgustingly and disturbingly, and also absolutely detrimental to her case, his semen was found on her bedsheets in her flat in Greater Manchester. So literally no doubt here, guys, that this teacher had sexual intercourse with her 15-year-old student. So was she jailed? No, she was bailed. How can anyone justify a teacher having sex with her 15-year-old student and choosing to bail her? Seriously, guys, picture that she was a man. And let's just hold that thought for now. In the case of Boy A, he had apparently worked out his teacher's mobile number after she gave the boy the entire number except she missed out 1 digit. I mean, this is clear grooming techniques at its finest. A math teacher giving her student a task including numbers. Ooh, fun. It's like she's playing games with the boys to get them obsessed with her, and perhaps sneaky by how she's done it, to somehow act the innocent later on. Oh, but I never gave the boy my full number. Sicko. with the mind games already showing she is a clear groomer. After boy A guessed the all-important missing digit in Miss Joynes' mobile number, they went on to exchange flirty texts with one another and agreed to secretly meet. One Friday night, boy A lied to his mother saying he was going to stay over at a friend's house, when instead what actually happened was Rebecca turned up in her Audi A1 near the boy's home. She picked the boy up and took him to the Trafford Centre, which is a fairly large shopping centre in Manchester, here in the UK, where they were both also spotted on the various CCTV cameras located around the Trafford Centre. It's very strange that she didn't seem worried at all about being caught on any of them. Extremely worrying, very brazen behaviour from the maths teacher here. Clearly luring, I don't know how to say that word. Clearly luring her 15-year-old student around lavish shops. Like this one, Selfridges, where they were both seen browsing the expensive clothing. But they didn't just browse that day. CCTV also saw Rebecca purchase a £350 Gucci belt, but not for her. Oh no, for the boy. Once again, here is a clear example of grooming techniques. You know, that old man they always warn you about as a child, offering you a sweet treat to go with them? Yeah. Unfortunately, they come in all shapes and sizes, people. Now, evidently, they were both seen again on CCTV or perhaps ring cams going back to Rebecca's flat in Salford, Greater Manchester, where they kissed, and this part is blurry. They may have had sex for the first time. The next day, boy A's mother noticed a love bite on her son's neck, which he just dismissed as nothing. Whether the boy had flaunted to his mates at school what had happened is unclear. But someone tipped off the police, and they made a visit to the school, along with boy A's mother, who was completely distraught and stormed her way through the school and into reception, after being told of the disturbing news that her son had spent the night with a teacher from their school. As I said before, she was somehow incredibly bailed, with the condition she have no unsupervised contact with anyone under the age of 18. Seriously? How disgraceful. If Rebecca Joynes was a man, this would be a whole other story. How on earth could they bail a teacher child sex offender, no matter what the age they are? After there was clear proof that she had had sex with a 15-year-old. She obviously groomed this boy, picking him up in a fancy car she knew would impress the teenager, then went on to take him to a large shopping centre to flaunt her money at the child. Ooh, look what I can buy for you. Sick. Then taking him back to her flat, her home, where she had full control of the boy and took away his innocence. Following all of this, and after her bail, she apparently had a breakdown and moved back to her parents' home in Wirral, where she used and claimed that she was at a low point when boy B had messaged her on Snapchat asking how she was. I genuinely thought he cared, Rebecca said. Sick. Turning it on to the boy. Rebecca then moved back to Salford Quays in Greater Manchester, where boy B would go on to visit her, just like she had done with her previous victim, boy A, where she is in full control of these innocent boys. And this is where they would end up having sex for the first time. Yes, the first time. So boy B and Rebecca would communicate through Snapchat, which I've never used to socialise on, but I do know that things like messages and photos do disappear, like kind of forever sometimes, as I know from watching many documentaries, even law enforcement or police struggle to access the history of this app. This could be seen as quite deviant, kind of cunningly discreet, in knowing this app is hard to access its history. They shared very flirtatious messages, remember, while she was on bail for her first offence. On Boy B's 16th birthday, he apparently texted her saying that he was now of legal age of consent. Okay, so it seems like we're kind of skipping forward here, but I promise it will all come together. I hope. Rebecca and Boy B continued to see each other and have sex. And during one so-called date night they had planned at her apartment, she chose there and then to reveal to him that he would now be a father at 16. By supposedly making some sort of TikTok video where a baby grow was said to have had the words "best dad" written on it. Like, oh my fucking god, how disturbing is that? She certainly did not ease the child into finding out he is having a child himself. Just imagine how damaging that is. This is just crazy news to suddenly be aware of in such an abrupt manner. A lot for this boy to take on his own, with just her in her flat at only 16. Wow. Rebecca stated in court that things only became sexual with Boy B once he reached the age of 16, the legal age of consent in Britain, and after she had been dismissed from her job. Yeah, right. And like it makes it all okay, even if she had been dismissed. But the boy disagreed and stated the relationship started before when Rebecca had said it had. Miss Joynes was subsequently jailed for breaking her bail conditions and spent a menial 5 months in custody. Sick. Again, if this was a man, do you really believe they would have been treated so lightly? Please, I would love to know your thoughts and feelings on how female sex offenders are being treated in this country and others. Rebecca had disputes with Boy B on whether or not to keep the child they had made, but obviously she kept it, and spent most of her pregnancy in jail. After being somehow bailed in November of 2023, she went on to give birth in, I believe, January this year, 2024. This baby is being taken care of by the teenage father and his family. Boy B told the court, "Now I think about it, it was emotional abuse. She basically mentally abused me." Jane Wilson, the senior Crown Court prosecutor to CPS Northwest, said, "Rebecca Joynes is a sexual predator, and rightfully so. I personally fully agree with her. Abusing her position of childcare like she did is just unforgivable. And now a young teenager is faced with being a father forever by a sex offender." Jane Wilson also said she abused her position to groom and ultimately sexually exploit schoolboys. Her behaviour has had a lasting impact on them both. I mean, it's just awful. These boys will always remember their first time, their innocence, being taken away from them by a grown adult woman who took advantage of every part of them. She emotionally took advantage, especially when trying to turn her own personal situation and issues around, saying she genuinely thought they cared. We can only imagine what she said to these boys to make them feel for her. Then, taking at least one of the boys on a personal shopping spree, enticing him in with her wealth and what she could give to them. Also picking him up in a car she knew would impress a teenage boy. Literal, clear grooming techniques, just like if an old man offered a little girl some sweets at the shop, a trip in his fun car, and perhaps to go see his new cats. It's the exact same. I mean, why are there people not looking at it this way? Rebecca Joynes is a clear, deviant child predator, plain and simple. The teacher then physically and sexually took advantage of both boys, putting them in situations where she was the one fully in control. Taking both boys back to her private residence, knowing these boys were lying to their parents about where they were, she held all of the cards here, and she knew it. Stealing the innocence of each boy, knowing how much that means to a person, and also just how detrimental it would be to their futures. And she should know because of her training. Miss Joynes using these basic grooming techniques. This should be blatantly clear to any law enforcement or judge, and this is why I'm left completely astounded and disgusted that this woman, this predator, was ever bailed in the first place, left free to do it all again, but worse, which she did with Boy B. She then went on to fully take advantage of Boy B, drawing him in, showing her emotional damage, and then purposely leaving herself able to get pregnant from a teenager, keeping it and stealing the boy's future away from him. Even if he loves that baby with all of his heart, he won't ever get away from his abuser now. Let's face it, it's his child's mother, after all. No matter what, they will both always face that stigma now. As the saying goes, shit sticks. And it will do. It will do in this boy's head, his life having to probably share his child with his abuser, and also how the world will treat them both, and what that child will face growing up. Because with how lenient she has been treated thus far, it wouldn't surprise me if she will be out and demanding to see the child in the future. But hopefully it will be a long time before he may have to face this situation. Please leave your views and opinions below, remaining respectful. Judge Kate Cornwell warned Rebecca, "There is a baby in this case who has done nothing wrong, obviously, and it is entirely innocent of all wrongdoing, and you will obviously want to see her before the sentence has passed. I do understand that." I'm not really sure I understand that, to be honest. She groomed a teen into having her child. Should she be allowed to see that child? Let me know what you think. As I said, this episode may seem slightly jumbled, but by the end, I believe we will all have a better picture of who this woman truly is, as I think we already do. Flattered. The groomer's words. The court previously heard that the then 28-year-old teacher, Miss Joynes, had recently come out of a 9-year relationship, and as she said, flattered by the attention she received from the schoolboys. So as I was talking to my fiancé about this case, as I don't really share with anyone else, and he has learnt a lot with me along the way about such people. Bad people. We were discussing how when at school most kids get a teacher crush at some point, and that is normal, especially for young boys hitting and going through puberty. Rebecca may have had a similar crush when at school, but now she's older, a teacher herself, and seeing young boys attracted to her and obviously flattered by this, it's like roles have reversed and attractions begin to form, teacher to student. She needed more attention in her private life and made the unmanageable, I can't say that, and made the unmanageable, I can't say it guys, unmanageable decision to choose an easy access route of preying upon the young boys where she worked, disobeying the orders of a person in a position of trust in the educational system. Rebecca's mother and father were always present at court. Did any of you guys notice just how protective her father Stuart always is with her in these photos? Let's just take a minute to look at body language and shit, and Rebecca's choice in outfit accessory to court. So we often see her father Stuart with his arm around her neck and shoulders, showing he wants to keep her safe. He is also often seen with his arm around her waist too, showing how comfortable he is with her, and also maybe signifying his belief in her innocence, or just as a daughter in general. He is often seen shielding her from the paparazzi and anyone around them and in their space. He guides her into the courtroom even as she is seen looking back at anyone there. She is often seen hanging her head. She shows her defensiveness when doing this to people who may be watching. She is also seen with her freshly foiled hair. I know this because I am actually a trained hairdresser, so it's pretty clear to me that she has recently had this done before attending court. She is seen with her hair down all of the time, which I find quite interesting. This could be to hide behind, as she does a lot when leaving the courtroom. It could show some shame, or she may just like to wear her hair down. But it is known that people often use their hair down to tease about their beauty behind the curtain. This could certainly be a ploy tactic with the jury and anyone watching. Hair down also acts as a barrier behind which a person can hide, I do find it interesting that she always chooses to have her hair down and dresses the way she does. The other interesting, and to some, me included, disturbing part about the way this former teacher and groomer was how she decided to choose what accompanied her outfits to court, and this was with a little pink baby's hat or bonnet. Just, ugh. She always made sure it was visible to everyone. You see it here sticking out of her trouser pocket, purposely in view, and again here, blatantly stuck down the front of her trousers. So why do this? Was it to make the victims feel some kind of way? Especially Boy B? Sorry for her? Maybe guilty himself somehow? Emotional blackmail? Reminding or trying to persuade the jury and the judge that she is just another mother. What are your thoughts on Miss Joynes' choice of outfit accessory? Well, whatever her reasons for this strange and memorable court outfit accessory, it seemed to completely backfire on Rebecca, as not only did the paparazzi and the media see it as a sick ploy and attention-seeking act, but the prosecutor, Joe Allman, actually accused Rebecca of seeking sympathy with her behaviour. Yeah, I totally agree. Going back to Rebecca's father, Stuart's body language, a second here, he was always seen acting powerfully protective when they were both leaving the courtroom, shielding his daughter, while she seemed to be complimentary to his guarding body language, hiding away into him and his body, as she is very protectively guided to safety. It's nice she's got one fan. The prosecutor in court also accused her of gaslighting, which was apparently the word she herself used about the two schoolboys. Man, is she brazen. She was accused of acting as a martyr, which I'm not surprised about. The prosecutor, Joe, also said that Rebecca hoped she would be treated differently because she is a woman and not a man in the same situation. Also adding, we have to ask, in the cold light of day, would Miss Joynes have appealed to your sympathy that way if she had been a 30-year-old man called Robert Joynes? Again, I just couldn't agree more. He also asked if the two boys would have been disparaged in the same way in attempts to discredit them if they had been two young girls. And this is how I believe everyone should be looking at the situation. It's beyond me the people who aren't. This comment following the constant statement from Miss Joynes in court that she was the one being victimised, and not the two young boys. Is she mad? She groomed and abused, taking advantage of these two poor boys and then claiming she was the one being victimised? I don't think so. Boy B sadly stated in court how he had lost his virginity to the teacher in her apartment in Salford Quays, and again, like Boy A, he lied to his mother about where he was going. So dangerous, you guys. Always tell someone where you are really going, as you just never know what could happen. Boy B told his mother he was going to watch a Manchester United game. Rebecca was left in full control again, and most probably the only adult to know the whereabouts of this boy. Boy B also explained to the court how he and the ex-teacher had sex around 30 times before her arrest. Not what she said. And this is what the British justice system is letting through. A female child sexual predator bailed to be trusted not to repeat her offending behaviour. Well done, Britain. The boy said how he initially viewed the relationship with Miss Joynes as friends with benefits. I wonder who put that in his head. Also, certainly not the mindset of someone who is planning to have a baby with this person. Friends with benefits. Most of us know what that means. If you don't though, just a quick Google will help. Boy B also said that the first time that they had met at her apartment, they had only kissed, which is still an offence, by the way. And Rebecca, who was still on bail at this point, remember, for abusing boy A, she had then, after kissing the boy, whispered in his ear about waiting until his next birthday when he would turn 16. Man, is she a manipulative monster or what? And like taking the kid back to your flat and kissing them isn't already bad enough, she had clear stipulations to stay well away from anyone under the age of 18. Never mind bloody 15 or 16. She just could not help herself. By all accounts, Boy B said in court he later realised how wrong the relationship between them was. I knew in my head, I said it to it, you're a weirdo, you need help. Also, and this is quite heartbreaking, he said, I kind of think she was playing a game with me. I did love her, to be honest, and she said she loved me. This is so tragic and upsetting for me to hear, how this young boy was manipulated by a woman who was trained to never abuse such trust of young people. She manipulated at least boy B into believing they were in love to the extent of allowing herself to become pregnant by the teenager. And also, this just shows the boy's innocence and immaturity. It's just really so sad. The teenager even stated that on occasion Miss Joynes would actually turn up to where he and his friends would be socialising, crying her eyes out. And here this is again clear emotional manipulation techniques, putting that boy in such a situation in front of his friends, trying to make him feel sorry for her and needed. Luke, you're having grown-up woman problems, yet you think it's okay to force them upon a teenage boy. Sick. He said, thinking back, now I think about it, it was emotional abuse. She just basically mentally abused me, then I sacrificed 18 months for a paedophile. Shit, it's so heartbreaking. He probably needed family and professionals to point this out to him, again showing his innocence and immaturity. They had unprotected sex, as Miss Joynes had told the boy she could not have a baby, but then only went on to reveal to the poor boy that she was now pregnant. Now, if this is in fact true, how sick is that? She straight up lied to that kid, and now he has a child forever. She took full advantage of him. You never know, perhaps the pregnancy was planned by her all along. What do you guys think of that possibility, that she planned the pregnancy? Let me know in the comments. Boy B expressed to the court, that was probably my lowest point. We were irresponsible. It's my own fault. I can't hide a kid. I hid the relationship for 18 months from my parents. And clearly, regretfully. Oh my gosh, this is so sad. Please, if you or anyone in a similar situation sees this, you are not at fault here. You were a young, impressionable, innocent person here. Firstly, if this boy was lied to, that this grown woman could not get pregnant in the first place, there is no way that boy should feel in any way at fault here. Really hurts my heart that he clearly does. This is a grown-ass woman, fully trained to never take advantage of any child or young person, especially her own students. She is at fault here, not the boy. Miss Rebecca Joynes had been through the prestigious Teach First programme in 2018, which aims to fight social disadvantage in the country by recruiting future leaders in education. Unfortunately, even though her parents could put her through such an education, she instead chose to abuse everything she had learned and did the complete opposite of all she would have been trained to do, and exploited at least 2 children, both of whom were her students, making this whole disgrace even worse. This complete misuse of trust is unforgivable, and to hear how she was treated by our supposed justice system is honestly absolutely disgusting and disgraceful. Come on guys, how the clear groomer was even granted bail in the first place is crazy, isn't it? People who are granted bail here in the UK are pretty much just set free to live a basically normal life, like usual, until their case comes to court. And this is what happened in this very case. Bail is usually expected to be given to people who seem to pose no risk to the public and to people whose previous reputation indicates that they can be trusted. She was a well-educated and well-trained teacher in a position of care and trust of children. She took full advantage of this, so why in the hell was she ever originally bailed or ever? Madness, people. Complete madness. Would they have done this for a male 30-year-old teacher who had sex with a 15-year-old girl? Think about it, guys. I don't bloody think so. Supposedly, and to be honest and clear here, it didn't matter if he did, because he was a child, but it was said to have been Boy B who made the first move in the relationship, and had sent some crude text to Rebecca, which I will not repeat out of respect to him, as he was an innocent child. The now ex-teacher, out on bail for sexually abusing a 15-year-old, needed no persuading and replied to the teenager with a photo of her bum. Wow, there we have yet another crime committed. What is wrong with her? She has now preyed upon 2 boys, one of which but restricted from any connection with people aged under 18. Does she have no shame? No conscience? Ugh. She has now made herself a serial offender after being found guilty of all 6 counts. She now faces prison, but for how long, hey? Apparently, the maximum sentence for engaging in sexual activity with a child is 14 years, and I'm interested to see what this sicko gets. After fully abusing the trust of these boys, their families, her job role, and her original bail conditions, I've seen that she has once again been let out on bail until her sentencing. Surely, that cannot be right. God damn, I hope that's not right. I've looked and looked, guys, but I've struggled to find out, and all I've seen is that she is free, so disgusting. When Rebecca Joynes was found guilty by the jury in Manchester Crown Court, May 2024, she was in complete shock. Probably thinking she would get away with it all, she began to physically and visibly shake in her chair at hearing the verdict. Rebecca's parents, who were ever present each time she was in court, both gave no reaction themselves. I'm guessing holding their composure for anyone watching. Whilst just yards away, the victim's parents were less coy and let out gasps of tears at the words "guilty on all counts." This whole case is truly disturbing to me, and actually kind of makes me feel better about not having children of my own, because, well, who can you trust anymore? So scary. This is all happening at the same time that a Tiny Toes deputy manager from Cheadle Hulme, Stockport, which is also Greater Manchester, was recently, in May 2024, jailed for 14 years for taking the life of a gorgeous little baby girl by callously strapping the innocent 9-month face down on a beanbag for at least 90 minutes. Oh, and apparently this was for a so-called punishment. A punishment for a 9-month-old. Have you ever heard something so ridiculous? I just can't get into it. It makes me so angry and sick. This criminal's name is Kate Ruffley, and just wow. She savagely and disgustingly took the entire life of a tiny innocent baby in her care and only received a pathetic 14 years. What is that? The baby wasn't even 14 months old, and she receives a mere 14 years for taking her whole life away from her. This does not instill me with much confidence or hope in this case. Come on, Britain, this is madness. Complete and utter failures, again and again. It's actually frightening. We expect these people to be punished after committing such crimes to keep the public and children safe, reprimanded fairly and punished correctly. Well, this story clearly shows that this did not happen. And now a child has a child with a sexual predator. So awful. It seems that the school Rebecca was employed by, at least at the beginning of her grooming and offences took place, has suffered greatly because of one woman's perverse behaviour, which I do find really sad. You cannot blame others for one person's actions, but I do of course understand parents' and students' rage since all of this. Again, who do you trust? Since the scandal, school kids from where Miss Joynes had been employed created an online group called Victims of Joynes, which doesn't prove there are other victims, but it most certainly raises a few eyebrows. The school is said to have had a toxic atmosphere, which you can only imagine, distrust between colleagues. Then there is the graffiti they have about the school, one such reading, "Free Miss Joynes," in one of the toilets. Teachers are now said to not be trusted because of Miss Joynes' hideous actions, which again I do believe you cannot put such blame upon others, but it does make you wonder, how did she act around others at school then? Rebecca was said to have never made the effort to attend work events or socialise and interact on a personal level with her colleagues. So I imagine it was hard for her colleagues to understand much about her, never mind thinking she would prey upon their students. Some of the teachers at the school said in hindsight, Miss Joynes was over-friendly. She was often seen chatting to the female students about fashion during break time and strutting down the corridors whilst they cheered her on. Yes, I would consider that slightly over-friendly. Do you guys? I find this next part quite unforgivable on the school's behalf here, as staff members were only told there had been a serious safeguarding complaint filed and that Miss Joynes had been asked to leave, but nothing else. Not why, not that a fellow colleague had supposedly had sex with a 15-year-old student of theirs. Oh no. It was the students themselves who had informed Miss Joynes' colleagues of her sordid behaviour. Oh my God, that is crazy to me. Surely the employees have a right to know what is or was going on where they worked, especially this kind of thing. That seems outrageously unfair to me. How could the school allow the students to inform the teachers rather than them themselves? I mean, it was bound to get out. I believe as their employers they have the duty to inform their staff who they were working with, just on a moral level even, and what kind of backlash to expect, like media response and students' behaviour. Instead, everything just got worse for the school and its teachers, as the students' behaviour was said to have quickly deteriorated following the scandal, and some students were acting as though they were untouchable, reports stated. One former staff member was left mortified by parents who were disappointed in their child's GCSE results, blaming it on the fact we have teachers fucking our kids. Oh my gosh, how awful and traumatic. And to be clear here, all we know is of one teacher at this school. They had one teacher, one weirdo fucking two kids. They are not all going to be doing this. I feel so sad for the innocent, hard-working teachers that have since been tarnished with such a damaging label, as they most probably genuinely have nothing to do with this, and would never act in such a way. Yet their reputations have suffered nonetheless because of this, but I understand where it's coming from. Previously to her inexcusable, unjustifiable, and truly reprehensible behaviour and actions towards the students, Miss Joynes was said to have been well thought of and well liked by both staff members and school students. On World Teachers' Day, she was given a thank you note from one of the students for helping them with their subject. I doubt this sick woman will be receiving any awards or thank you notes anytime soon, but hopefully some well-deserved comeuppance. Fingers crossed the justice system will see exactly what is in front of them and punish her justifiably to a reasonable extent for a teacher in a position of trust who groomed at least two teenage boys, leaving one of them a father. Everyone needs to look at this the same way, as if a 20 or 30-something-year-old man had committed the very same grooming, sexual crime and abuse. Would they have ever received bail in the first place, or at all? How was she let free? Miss Joynes did not even seem fazed when agreeing to the fact that yes, she had broken her bail restrictions. Like it didn't really matter that much. You had one serious restriction: to stay far away from any interaction with under 18s, because you had already been found to have had sex with a 15-year-old. You couldn't keep to that one serious stipulation because you are obsessed and like young boys. End of. If she is free, no young boys are safe, like we would say about any other predator who had done the same. You know, it always surprises me when I see just how many of these female child predators are actually more often than not young, attractive, and a lot of the time already in a relationship, and sometimes even have children of their own. I mean, what are they thinking messing around with children themselves? Psychology goes extremely deep, but I'm no professional, just to make that clear. I'm a true crime fan who enjoys doing her research and showing it to the world, bringing awareness to many serious subjects and issues. But it is also quite interesting to me that Rebecca previously had been in a long-term relationship lasting around 9 years that apparently did not improve as the years went on and completely broke down. Now, Rebecca was in fact herself only a 15-year-old girl when she met and fell in love with her partner. This was probably when she felt happiest in life, excited about their passion for one another. And when all that broke down, and she was then facing young males giving her attention the same age as when she first fell in love, attention she was now missing in her personal life and seemed to crave. Well, I'm just going to leave that there and up for debate. Please tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really interested in what everybody else thinks of this, but please remain respectful. Let me know if you enjoyed this episode. Would you like to see more like this? I really appreciate your feedback, guys. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that thumbs up right there and giving this episode a like, it would mean so much to me. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing to my channel. Now, let's just hope this woman gets the jail time she deserves. Rebecca Joynes is a clear child groomer and sex offender, not as some portray her as an innocent mother who fell for a teenager. Well, two actually. The only true innocent here are the two male victims and that poor baby. Rebecca Joynes is due to be sentenced on the 4th of July 2024. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know if you want to see more of this kind of stuff, and if there is anyone you'd like me to feature in one of my episodes. I really appreciate everybody's feedback. I hope you like this, and I'll be back soon with more. Random Gem.